Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I want to give a brief introduction of myself. I'm Guang, Director of Shanxi University Library. It's a great honor to chair this 2023 Forum on Future of World Academic Library session. In the third session this morning, our speakers talked about smart transformation of libraries and discussed some hot topics, such as metadata, data-enabled subject services, data and research support services, big data applications, big models, and data middle platforms. This afternoon, we are going to have library directors and professionals from Nankai University, Qatar National Library, Wuhan University, Croatian Academic and Research Library Consortium, South China University of Technology, Consortium of Services for the Universities of Catalonia, and Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, to share with us their experience in the digitalization of Asian books and special collections, read and publish open access agreements, high quality metadata constructions, e-resources of the consortium, data resources constructions. These presentations will deepen our knowledge of library resource constructions in the context of open science. So for next, let's welcome Mr. Evelyn Akara, Head of Open Access and Copyright at Qatar National Library. He's leading the library's open access program team. He will give a speech, read and publish open access agreements, the keys of Qatar National Library. Okay, please.
So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you. I would like to also first thank you for the invitation to speak today. So I'll be talking about open access and one of the and what we are doing at Qatar National Library, and specifically about these type of agreements that we have, the read and publish agreements, which are the first in the Gulf region, as we have done. So today I'll be talking about open access, but just so that we're, it's just one part of a whole big picture of open science. And before I start talking about what we do with open access, I want to clarify what at least we mean by being open. And being open, or at least open access, is that the use of specific licenses that allow for free use, that the content can be modified, can be shared with anybody, can be used or reused and repurposed. And most importantly, authors retain copyright. And today I'm not going to talk about why open access is good. And I believe we have been hearing from many other people and over the last years of the benefits of open access. But what I wanted to talk about today is how we are doing it at Qatar National Library. And to understand our perspective, we need to go back in time to 2018. And that's the time when Qatar National Library has opened its doors. And this is the picture of the building from outside. Sometimes I feel it looks like a spaceship. It's very, it's a nice building. And I do hope many of you have a chance in the future to join. I want to talk a bit about what we do in Qatar National Library. So when we opened 2018, we had the vision of being, let's say, 3 types of a library. Public library, and national library, so we're looking at the heritage, but also a research library. So from inside, we have these different sections. So this is the main library, and we have about 1 million books on display. We also have the heritage library, and we have, and one of our goals of the library is to collect manuscripts and research, or manuscripts and content from Qatar and the region for the last couple of hundred of years, preserve them, and also digitize them and put them in our online library. We also have a children's library, and we are very interested, of course, in having these different events. So here is an event that we have once a month, the Qatar Philharmonic Orchestra, and we have a free concert every the last Thursday of every month. We also do different conferences, and this is one of the conferences we did a couple of years ago about the Qatari architecture. We have different exhibitions. Right now, we have an exhibitions about Arabic manuscripts in Indonesia. But also as a public library, we try to do different things, such as having an innovation station with 3D printers. So this is what we do as a library. But from our department, the digital collections, we asked the question in 2018, how can we have instant access to all of Qatar's research, right? So Qatar has been spending a lot of money on research in the region. We have a lot of researchers and we have a lot of publications. And one of the things we ask, of course, is how can we get access to it? And I'll explain why that's important. But in 2018, we also organized ourselves as a library consortium. So it's not just Qatar National Library involved, but we also are part of a national consortium of right now 10 members, but we're hopefully going to be growing. And it includes Qatar University, Hamad Medical Corporation, which is the hospitals and all the medical research centers, Hamad bin Khalifa University, Primary Healthcare Corporation, University of Doha Science Technology, Center Medicine, and etc. And as a consortium, we lead the basically the negotiations and ensuring access of all these different content to research, government, education, and healthcare sectors for 82 different institutions. We also, as the Qatar National Library Consortium and the negotiating team, which I'm part of, we coordinate the agreements with the publishers on a country level, and we provide unique negotiations and licensing expertise. The idea of the National Consortium is that we get best cost to value ratio on the country scale. And we have these joint resources of licensing resources and acquisitions. And the idea is that we cost share. So the overall cost is shared among different institutions, and the overall cost is lower compared to each individual institution doing it on its own. And together with the consortium, we said, okay, how can we get not only instant access, but how do we maximize the use of Qatar's research outputs? The problem, of course, with our library and every other library and libraries around the world is that we are dependent on publishers' subscriptions. This is the normal scenario in libraries. So this is the box here is an example of one publisher or just a scenario publisher. So in black is the content from behind a subscription paywall from all over the world. And in maroon, which is also the color of the Qatari flag, is the content from Qatar. So when we have an active subscription, everybody's happy, we get access and etc. The problem, of course, is that given the budget issues that we have of all libraries in the world, we have to make decisions. Right? And in certain times, we have to make a decision to either stop a subscription and not continue. If that happens, then we lose and we don't have any access to the content. So that's the problem that we are trying to address. The government, the Qatar is spending a lot of money on research. The researchers are publishing behind paywalls. And we don't have a way of accessing this content unless we have an active subscription with publishers, but of course we have to make decisions sometimes to cancel or prioritize one subscription over the other. And there's no way that any library can afford the subscriptions for all publishers. So this is the problem that we are trying to address. So looking at the status in 2015, we knew that Qatar-based researchers wanted open access, but there was no institutional-based funding, and some authors were actually paying from their own pockets, which is very bad. Now, we established the Open Access Fund in 2015, a couple of years before we opened the building. And in 2018, we decided, we're going to stop many subscription agreements and only sign agreements that have a publishing element. So this brings me back to what is the read and publish agreements. We also, in 2018, decided as a library that we want to support fully gold open access journals and other business models. And we found out that 80% of all the research output from Qatar is coming from 20 publishers. So our goal as a target in 2018 was to get as many as to get agreements with as many possible of these 20. So what are read publish agreements? And this is the agreements that we have decided to only have basically read and publish agreements. In a normal agreement, of course, a subscription agreement, libraries are paying for a subscription and they get the content. But in a pay and read, in a read and publish agreement, our goal is twofold. The first is we want to shift the cost from paying to read to paying to publish and read. But also very importantly is that we don't want to pay extra money, right? Libraries already suffering with lower budgets everywhere in the world. We want to repurpose the budget that we get for a specific publisher agreement and negotiate so that we get both subscription and we get reading access to subscription content, but also we get these tokens for publishing at no increase in expenditure. And of course, as you can imagine, many publishers said no, but we pushed for it, and we worked with them. We saw what were the different examples worldwide. We followed the example in Western Europe, in the Netherlands, in Hungary, and etc. And we saw the best examples. And we, in 2018, also came up with different licensing principles. These licensing principles will allow us to negotiate better with the publishers. So these are a selection of some of them. The first thing is that we want access to all users, from staff, faculty, students, and anybody walking in to the library. Our library and, of course, the other libraries in the consortium. Because certain limitations in our copyright law, we also ask for certain things in an agreement. So we allow for classroom use of all the content and course pack use. We want interlibrary loan. Most importantly right now, and especially with the whole development of AI, but of course we did this before, AI was a big thing. We wanted to support text and data mining for research purposes. We wanted the agreement to be transformational or transitional in nature, so to include open access. And the idea is that the cost of subscription goes down over years, the cost of publishing goes up. We pay more towards publishing and less towards subscription year on year. Most importantly, also, we don't want the agreements to be confidential. The idea is that we learned from different agreements from Europe and North America and other parts of the world. And we want to share these agreements with the rest of the world so they can see also what we have agreed on. And as a community together worldwide, we can improve our agreements going forward. And an important aspect also of the agreement is that publishing is open to everybody in Qatar, regardless of whether their institution is part of the consortium or not. So if we look today, based on what we knew as a status, what we wanted to work towards, and what we had as licensing principles, today in 2023, It's 5 years since the plan was set, and we did accomplish certain things. So I mentioned that 80% of all publications are with 20 publishers, and we were able to get publishing agreements with several publishers. I mean, they're not, not 20 yet, but we're almost there. And what we have here is that in bold are read and publish agreements, and in italic are fully gold. So bold, so we have these read and publish agreements with Cambridge University Press, De Gruyter, IEEE, Sage, Springer Nature, Karger, Taylor Francis, Elsevier, Oxford University Press, Wiley, and Volz Clover. On all these agreements, basically we get a subscription, plus we get number of articles to cover the requirements for the researchers in Qatar. And as I mentioned, we also wanted to support other business models. So therefore, we have agreements with the likes of Hindawi, Dove, F1000, MDPI, Frontiers, plus and a local publisher, HBKU Press. Since that time, we've been, as a library, we've been operating an open access program. So we have a team that basically receives all the requests from the authors. We process them with the publisher. We have a whole kind of workflow. And of course, the challenge is, and I'll mention that later, is that we have 18 different agreements. So every agreement has a different workflow. Nonetheless, we were able to support researchers in Qatar, and in 2018 we have about less than 200, but then we've been reaching about 1,000 requests per year approved, and so far we've supported about 4,500 articles. We've supported 1,800 researchers in Qatar, and we've supported 40 institutions. And to give you some context, I mean, Qatar is very small. So the number of articles that is total published, we is basically 5,000 a year. That's open access or of research in general. So to cover 1,000, that's 20% of all publications. So it's a good achievement. And also, I mentioned that Qatar is quite small in the number of researchers. We have about 5,000 active researchers. So to get 40% of them, support them, is quite an achievement. Of course, we want to do more. But what we can see is that over time, there is a positive trend of publication. So right now, from 2013, where open access was about 25%, we're reaching about 66-65% right now. That is open access of all of Qatar's research outputs. Of course, we want to also explore more sustainable options with publishing. And we've launched this new service called Manara. Manara in Arabic means lighthouse. And this is an institutional research repository. And the goal of the institutional research repository is that we want to curate, capture, preserve, and provide access to all of Qatar's research outputs, including non-traditional research outputs such as posters, reports, presentations. And we work on together with institutions, but also together with individual researchers. But the idea here is that we want to support green open access publishing. By using Manara, it becomes the main institutional repository for different institutions. Then we can explore the green open access route. Now, Manara is still relatively new, and we have about 2,500 articles. We hope to reach 3,000 by the end of the year. But what's very encouraging is the number of downloads is quite high. It's like 100,000 plus in total. So it's quite encouraging to see that there is demand for this. I've talked about right now the different examples of what we do with open access, but of course, like any other institution consortium, we have some challenges. Yes, we are maybe happy with the development so far, but we know that we can do more. So one of the issues, of course, is that negotiating agreements are time-consuming. There is no price transparency between agreements from one consortium to another. Publishers are trying different ways of using this unused credit. So when we get, like, say, 300 articles per year, but we don't use all of it, that's not good for us. So we need to figure out ways of using it. Of course, the issues with negotiating over time, and publishers are always introducing new terms to the agreements. So, for example, right now in the news, we're hearing that publishers are introducing terms related to artificial intelligence, which they expect all consortium members to apply. And again, one of the issues is that not all open access is equal. So we're very concerned about some of the open access licenses that publishers use. And therefore, our preference is that to use the CC/BY. And very important that free access to content is not the same as open access for us. So and it's not enough to get access for free, because free access can be stopped in the future. We want open access using the CC/BY licenses. And as I mentioned, this publisher workflows can be a nightmare. Each publisher has its own workflow. We work with different publishers. Some of them have a platform, some of them don't. Some of them require approval of a request before peer review. Some of it is after acceptance. Because we apply the system to all Qatar-based researchers, some of the publishers fail to recognize the authors, and the author journey is different from one publisher to another. It's very confusing. So what's next? We still need to do a lot. As a consortium, we need to improve the cost-sharing models. We need to work on improving agreement terms for renewals. We're not happy always with the terms that we get in one agreement, but we have to meet in middle ground with the publisher, but we try to improve it in the next renewal. Of course, this is back and forth with the publisher. We need to reassess the service criteria, how we're doing this, and we do surveys, we do interviews with the researchers to better understand their perception of this. I mentioned some researchers are paying from their own pocket or from institutions. So we're trying to centralize all the article processing charges or the budget in one place, and that we can do it. We want to improve self-archiving practices, so through the green open access publishing. We want to advocate for more open access in Qatar and the region. And we, of course, and very importantly, we want to study the impact of open access on Qatar's publications. Yes, we've been funding articles. Yes, we've been making articles open access. But what is the impact? What is the impact from a researcher, from a journal perspective, on article level? Or what is the impact on an institutional level? Or recently we started supporting more open access books. What is the impact on the long term? Yes, we're paying money. Yes, it's free to access, but how important is it? We don't know yet, but some of the early signs are encouraging. So one example, this book we published with Springer Nature, Social Change in the Gulf Region. It's about 30 chapters from, I think 12 from Qatar-based researchers. The rest are from the region. The editors are from Qatar. And the book has been accessed over 110,000 times in just 10 months. And it's been cited by 5 different journals. So this is the kind of impact stories that we would like to explore more and prove more. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And I again thank the organizers for inviting me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Altaja, for sharing the Qatar National Library's efforts in negotiating and licensing read and publish agreements. By establishing an APC fund and adopting licensing principles that ensured the inclusion of publishing as part of traditional subscription agreements, the library has achieved significant milestones in providing sustainable publication and broad access. We hope to have further exchanges in the future. Thanks again. So next, let's give the floor to our next speakers, Ms. Alisa Martek and Ms. Sonja Borak. Martek is library advisor of National and University Library in Zagreb and advisory board member for Croatian Academic and Research Library Consortium. Borak is Librarian of National and University Library in Zagreb, and responsible for e-resources acquisition. They will give us a speech, e-resources, and the Croatian Academic and Research Library Consortium. Okay, please.
Yes, thank you very much for the introduction. I hope everyone can hear me. Warm greetings from Zagreb, and to all of you who are participating here today. And we thank CNKI for inviting us to be here with you. So we will talk about our work and share our experience with you. Just give me a second to share my screen. To see, just a sec. Okay, I'm having a bit of an issue. Okay, just a second, Alisa, please. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, good. So Alisa and I have been working in the National and University Library for about 8 years now. And we are actually representative of the Croatian Academic and Research Libraries Consortium. So it all happened in 2015 when we signed an agreement with the Ministry of Science and Education. By that agreement, the National Library became responsible for licensing e-resources and for coordinating our libraries of all our universities and public institutes, colleges. This agreement determined what are our responsibilities of the ministry itself, who is basically, its main role is to support us in our work and to, of course, support us financially. With this agreement, it determined also which institutions are eligible to access e-resources. So which institutions are those? Those are primarily public institutions or institutions which are financed with public financial means. And who are in the registry of the Ministry of Science and Education. Also, this agreement was determined to establish the so-called advisory board. That is the board which is a neutral body which consists of many different members who represent different institutions. So in universities or university libraries, also they're representatives of the Ministry of Education and the National University Library. So this advisory board is responsible for deciding which e-resources are going to be licensed in the next year. Based on a few various factors. So, for instance, usage statistics, proposals, terms and conditions of the licenses, institution who will be members and included in certain licenses, and so on. Basically, before the National Library took over that role of becoming the consortium representative, it was previously done by our Ministry of Science and Education and our largest public scientific institute, Ruđer Bošković. In 2016, what we did is, Alisa, I'm sorry, can you, yes? slides, the next slide. Yes, please. Okay, so in 2016, we applied for an EU project, and our project was called Improving Access to Electronic Resources Offering Scientific and Specialized Information. But you can see it's a mouthful, so we just call it Project Resources. And our grant was approved from the European Social Fund within the operational program Efficient Human Resources. It was meant to be a 5-year-long project, and the total cost of it was 17,600,000 euros. So within this project, what it gave us, some very positive aspects were, we gained some financial stability in the sense that we could plan ahead, because we knew which amount of money are we going to can rely on within each next year. Also, we had certain goals and administration which made us to submit quarterly reports to our governing bodies and agencies who were monitoring our work. Some of our main goals within this project was to sign 50 agreements, but we managed to supersede that, and we signed 61 total agreements in those 5-year time, out of which were 2 transformative, the Cambridge University Press and with IOP Publishing. So that was our success at the time. And the second goal was that we set out to educate 500 participants in our 2 educational workshops that we conducted and organized. We also superseded that result, and we had a total of 878 participants, out of which 671 unique. So that means that 207 of them attended both our workshops. So we consider that a great success, which was more than we could ever count on or think that we would achieve. Well, that project ended in 2021 in December. So now we rely solely on the state budget. And the current state is... Alisa, can you please, the next slide? Yes. So in short, what is the situation now? As I said, we are financed solely from the state budget from the Ministry of Science and Education. We have a couple of challenges here that we need to work out in this process of e-resources licensing, for instance. There is a very bureaucratic maze here that we need to go through to complete 1-year licenses. That means we need to ask for consents and approvals from our state authorities, and that usually takes a bit of time, a minimum 30 days on average. We cannot plan that ahead because we only know what financial means we would have on our disposal when the budget is announced, and that usually happens at the end of the year in early December. Also, all our e-resources need to be acquired through a public procurement processes, which are often very time-consuming. They take a long time, and that's why we usually sign our agreements very late in the year. Of course, that leaves us with the possibility of access termination for a period of time until the procurement is finished. We usually get to some agreement with the publisher not to do so if the tenders are near the end. but it did happen on a couple of occasions that we had access termination for some time before we had the new agreement. Also, Alisa and I were very intensively engaged in those public procurement processes. That was mainly because we were understaffed at some point, and that left us with the less time to actually do our librarianship responsibilities. But now we are outsourcing a company that is doing that for us. So we are also in touch with them, and we are included in the process, but not as much as we were before. So now also we have certain bylaws that are somewhat limiting when we plan what are we going to license for the next year. But we are hoping that very soon a new act on higher education and scientific activity bylaw will happen and be adopted, so that we can also with it adopt some core values of the European higher education, European education area, and the European research area. So we hope that by that we will have more opportunities and more possibilities to plan ahead and to make better decisions on our licensing of our resources. So Alisa will now tell you a bit about what are our plans for the future. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sonja. How we in the library support research activities of the Croatian academic and research libraries. So first of all, this is our work that Sonja explained, e-resources and databases acquisition or licensing. So we do the full cycle of licensing, but of course we put the emphasis on open access, transformative agreements, and the APCs, and we provide information and education for our end users. Second service is our bibliometric services that we do on the national level and to support an education to other libraries. And also by the end of the year, we hope to have the central system for bibliometric searches up and running, which is now being tested by our colleagues working at the bibliometric services. We are also involved in citizen science through the CEOS project, or Citizen Enhanced Open Science in Higher Education hubs in South and Eastern Europe. This project is Erasmus project led by LIBER, with 6 countries participating in the project. So with this project, we are connecting libraries and scientists in the community, and we also educate on citizen science, giving the workshop through our Center for Continuous Education for Libraries. Croatia has a national repository, which is called DABAR, or the Beaver. And we are responsible for administration of the repository of the University of Zagreb, and also our own library repository. And we also participate in the national CRIS system that is called CROCRIS, which is a new system, and it is just about to start, and we are await our responsibilities in this CRIS system. We are also part of RDA network and many other networks and research systems. Next slide, just a second. Back to future. And why I say back to future? Because we plan to open the Center for Open Science that would have 3 goals. So first and foremost, to support science and higher education system in Croatia. Then to do the research and have the projects in the field of open science with emphasis on open access and citizen science. And the third goal is to provide support for activities and promote open science in Croatia, connecting with the services abroad with colleagues. So the Center of Open Science, it will have all these components that I talked about, and one component that I haven't mentioned is education. So we are giving a lot of workshops. So one workshop is how to use e-resources. This is for our students and first comers to the library. Then on bibliometric services to the libraries and also to the institutions. And in the Center for Open Science, we plan new workshops on open science connected with the citizen science and all other pillars of open science. This is all from us. Thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to participate in your wonderful conference.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Martek and Ms. Borak, for your presentation. We have gained knowledge that the National and University Library in Zagreb provides and maintains access to e-resources of scientific and academic information for the consortium. The e-resources acquisition enables holders of scientific activity in the Republic of Croatia to use e-resources to improve the quality of their scientific output. So thanks a lot again. Next, let's welcome Ms. Xie Lixia, Director of South China University of Technology Library. She also serves as Dean of the School of Marxism at this university. She will share with us data resources construction in academic libraries in the context of open science. Please, Ms. Xie.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to attend this year's forum to meet with all of you at home and abroad.
As you can see, this is my title, Data Resource Construction in Academic Libraries in the context of open science. I have the following concept. First, what is open science? Second, with this backdrop, how should we construct data resources, the opportunities and challenges we have? Third part is prospect into the future. First, it's the open science background. With the emerging technologies of ICT and AI becoming the mainstream technologies of our era, that means our academic studies are gradually becoming more open. In recent years, there's a concept called open science, and there's wide exploration of the concept and with the open science concept, nations around the world are having extensive discussions and also conducted various measures. In 2012, which is 10 years ago, the All European Academies, the ALIA, had a report called Open Science for the 21st Century. And in 2021, UNESCO had a recommendation for open science. It was approved by 193 member states. And in December 2021, we have amended the Science and Technology Development Law of PRC, and open science became a clear objective for the future. January of 2023, the USDP of the United States announced this year as the Open Science Year. So, open science has been evolving since 10 years ago, and the past decade was an important challenge for all libraries. And the influence of open science can be showcased in the following four arenas. First, this is a new way of academic exchange, which is different from the offline or online communications. We can break the boundaries. There's a much larger space, people to people exchange, and information sharing. So this is a new way of academic exchange, not necessarily via a library. We can have people to people exchange, no matter which corner my partner is in this world. Open science also promotes the sharing and utilization of academic resources. I do not need to build an individual database. Of course, large database technologies are necessary, but open science can also encourage people-to-people share of the academic resources, so there are more individuals and organizations can get involved in the sharing. Number three, open science has improved the transparency and repetitiveness of academic studies. So the studies were no longer a mystery. It can be done in public space and website. Everything is more open and transparent. Open science can also promote development and science technology innovation and the talent training. In the past, we are not that open in science and technology innovation. It takes us longer time to accumulate the resources and the quality is not so good. But now with big data, the speed and quality of resources will be greatly improved. So our innovation will also be improving its quality efficiency, and we can have a better talent training. In the past, it would be like classroom teaching, but now via internet, we can have development that is cross-disciplinary and cross-border. And what are the challenges to the libraries, particularly data management? And this challenge can be shown in the following arena. First is the data open access with the allocation of libraries. Every library, you may have your own repositories, but you cannot keep it private. You need to make it open accessible. And for this open data, it's also a challenge for library to manage the huge amount of data. You need to guarantee the data security and everything. And number three is the open infrastructure. For libraries, you need to guarantee the open access, you need to manage this data well, you need to have good infrastructure, so you need to manage the relationship between the library and open knowledge network and the open repository. The third is the open educational resources. For example, the American University Libraries has a open textbook plan. These are all high quality educational resources. In which way should we make it open and who can have access to that? This is another challenge to the libraries. The last is the evaluation of the effect of open access. There should be an indicator matrix, and there should also be academic evaluating tools that include the qualitative and quantitative indexes, etc. So that is a background introduction and the challenge to all libraries. With that library challenge, we see the core is data resource construction and management. That is the second part of my presentation. What should the library do to build better data resources? You need to start by knowing or making inventory of what data resources are in the library. They have their own independent data for literature, user space, and behavior. The other is the open access resources. Those are the journals, preprint dataset that has open access. Third is organizational knowledge repositories, libraries in universities, and self-built database for the scientific organizations. And fourth is open government dataset. Countries around the world, we have the public domain open dataset from the government, like meteorology or environment or transportation. Also, there is data about population and resources. These are also open data. Third is number fifth is the open data platform and its open data set. The last part is social media data. So for China, we have Weibo and WeChat, and these are social media platforms. There's also open data on that. And in the future, we can take the data as a supplementary we can take data from social media as a supplementary to library data to fully represent the holistic outlook on the future trend. The other is data construction planning. How should we plan the data resources of a library? Well, if you want to make a good plan, you need to start have good targets. Everything should be oriented in supporting the needs of the universities in both the teaching and studies. The other, you need to have a sound data resource guarantee system, and it should be a environment that is user friendly. It covers the following four dimensions, including the construction of a basic data, including the database commercial resources, open access academic data, open science data, government open data, data disclosed by enterprises, organization knowledge repositories. You need to further enrich this basic data. On top of that, you need to have platform infrastructure that include open access platform, open knowledge repositories, open knowledge network, data management platform, and distributed big data platform. And on the upper layer, you need to do good support, providing various guarantees, and have a good implementation mechanism that includes procurement integration, management, and disclosure of the data resources, accelerate the digital transition, extend our service chain, and improve service capacity. So make our libraries make its digital transition to make it fully digitalized In the future, it can be an unmanned library. And for implementation mechanism that need a multi-party coordination, multilateral cooperation, there should be long-term storage and good feedback. Number 4 is visa application. It has to do with open science, open publishing, open education, open evaluation, etc. Those are the basic plannings. And the third part is our library, the Library of South China University of Technology. We've conducted the following work. 4 different parts. First is the planning for literature resource allocation, including annual database usage evaluation report. We need to know which data are highly utilized. We have an annual report. Based on that, we will evaluate the database we procure and the planning of our future databases and have communication with the service providers and to dynamically adjust our need. Second is to tracking with the publishers for the 4 libraries in our campus. Right now we have 3 facilities. We're building a 4th one, which will act also as a public library to this community. And the second part is the open resource integration. We need to integrate this open access resource in our automated collection system and tracking the progress of open access. The third part is self-built thematic data resources. We have a global alumni collection because for our university, we have many alumni in various sectors around the world. So we have a specific alumni collection and also various disciplines specific analytic platform. The 4th part is the recreational transition of our collection. We republished the Qianlong capital map and we use these resources to conduct education and awareness raising activities. And next is a method of construction data resources within our library. There are 3 logic links. First is data collection and storage. This includes the data collection via ProQ database, self-built data, public data collected, open data, data mining. Data can be stored in the form of a data set, cloud, distributed, and next is data organization and description. Data organization includes data cleaning and processing, synced catalog, and data description to force data development and utilization.
How do we use a visualized tool to output the analysis? And how do we automatically label and tag the resources? We also organize webinar seminars on these topics. So we demonstrate to you a couple of cases of us utilizing smart technologies to power our libraries. For example, how do we utilize AI technologies to support the functions of our libraries? For example, the evaluation of subjects and professionals, and to advertise knowledge for citizens. This slide shows to you a couple of examples. For example, the LSP platform, which is a smart library platform. We offer 5 types of basic functions and a couple of core functions. These are 10 core functions. In terms of the modules of application, there are 15. And we offer services to 3 types of users: suppliers, libraries, and readers. We mainly utilize the 3rd generation admin system for libraries, and we purchased the one developed by Tuxing. We also built a platform to serve the development of subjects. So for example, we build an intelligence system powered by AI. And also the intelligence system of bioscience powered by AI. So with such projects, we'll be able to utilize relevant tools to analyze into the data. So we'll be able to clearly demonstrate the breakdown of the data, and we can output a report as well. We can also conduct talent evaluation for talent mining. For example, in the field of physics, we'll be able to evaluate, for example, the postdoctorates of our university, as well as our university's outstanding young professors, young teachers, and scientists introduced from overseas countries, etc., or the papers analyzing into the SCIE papers of our university's teachers in the past 3 years. Another case is, for example, the analysis report of inclusion of papers on the topic of China's body organism functions reconstruction. We also conduct third-party evaluation in partnership with other universities and enterprises. So we evaluate their fruits of scientific research in a comprehensive manner. And we output reports to those partners so we can efficiently analyze their innovative capacities to promote the development of our partners. Number 4, we build a big data platform of alumni resources. So we conduct big data analysis into the influence of alumni of our university, and we also make such analysis with our services. For example, we build databases through natural language processing to create, for example, a map of knowledge. We also build a platform to demonstrate the info of our famous alumni. We also offer open source knowledge education to citizens. For example, we build exhibition halls inside our library for the purpose of citizen science education. Now, the exhibition hall will become even more developed in the future, and it's open for all residents in Guangzhou. We believe that there are actually not only opportunities, but also challenges. For example, the quality of data and security issue. How do we formulate strict standards for collecting and storing data? How do we preserve the safety and security of the data through crypto technology? How do we avoid losing data? How do we guarantee the usability and quality of data? These are all the challenges that we're faced with. So, targeting these challenges, what should we do? I want to offer to you 3 strategies. First up, it's important for us to transform the models of development of publishing industry. For example, the golden open access, which is the most popular format of access, in the future is likely to even exceed the subscription model in terms of the number of users. So we can also consider, for example, transform the formats of access, as well as converting the protocols. And then in terms of technologies, we can also consider utilizing AI technology, cloud technology, big data analysis to support our management, processing, to enhance the efficiency of our work, to dig out more value. This can promote innovation of open science. This will help us to create a brand new system of management. Another important perspective is artificial intelligence. With the help of AI, I believe that increasingly more scholars will switch from open source websites. Well, they're likely to utilize open source websites without the help of libraries. So what we need to do is to keep pace with the demands of scholars, of research teams and projects with the help of AI to fulfill their demands. Number 4, data management strategies in the background of open science. So we need to build a sound system to foster data sharing, data management capacity, and extend the scenarios of data application. This obviously is a brand new issue and a brand new challenge, and we hope that we'll have chances to work with all of you in this regard, to face up to the challenges and promote the development of libraries across the world. So that's all for my speech. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Xie, for your insightful speech. Data resources construction in academic libraries is pivotal for fostering an environment of unrestricted knowledge sharing and collaboration. Your presentation has shared the background of open science, discussed data resources construction plans, methods, and examples, and talked about the impact of open access movement and new technologies such as AI and big data on the data management of libraries. Thank you again. So our next speaker is Mr. Lluís Anglada, Open Science Advisor at the Consortium of Services for the Universities of Catalonia. Previously, he was the founder and the director of the Consortium of Catalan Academic Libraries, the director of the Catalonia Technical University Libraries, and a professor at the Faculty of Librarianship of Barcelona University. His speech is Open Science, a great opportunity and big challenges for academic libraries. The cooperative experience of Catalonia. Please, Mr. Lluís Anglada.
Well, hello. I am sharing my screen now.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for the invitation, and I am very glad to be here, very honored. And good morning for the people that are like me based in this time, and good afternoon for the others one. My intention is, like the title says, is to explain three basic ideas. The first is that libraries had to evolve rapidly, because the change that we have is not an evolutionary change, it's a disruptive change. That the open science is here, that will impact on libraries, we will see how. And finally, that in my opinion, the solution for libraries to face this big challenge that is the open science is to share a lot of services and infrastructures, and I summarized this in this idea that is in sharing with trust. First of all, we will talk about the change in libraries. In my opinion, we have an idea that is very common in the library field, is that, like always, there has been libraries, that this one in Izmir, this other one medieval, or this Baroque, or these new Alexandria libraries, like always has been libraries. The idea is that always they will still be libraries. But this image, this picture shows that can be our future, is a future where the information migrated completely to the network, and we have the challenge to be, if we are useful or not in this situation, because we existed always. This is true, but not only. The important is that the people think that our existence is associated to the print books and to a building. The question now is that the modern concept of library has been created after a lot of changes and evolutions. At the end, that we talk about, that we conceive like the modern library is a very new concept, like the open stacks, for instance, is new. This means the libraries forever doesn't help us to understand the deep changes that we are facing. And in this case, if the libraries already change, but in these changes, libraries are still alive. It's not because libraries is something that is good, always the same, but it's because the libraries had to change deeply, also accordingly with the needs of the society and about the possibilities of the technology. If we
excuse me, Dr. Anglada, your slides didn't move. Could you please share that again?
Sorry, I'm not moving the slides.
No.
And now?
And now, yes.
Okay, I will
Please
use
go ahead.
this. Sorry.
Okay. Gracias.
Okay, sorry. I have animations in the other in that cannot be seen here. So, which is the characteristics of this big change? The characteristic is the movement, the migration from print to digital. And in general, I think the idea is that we move to the print era where the information was scarce and the time to look and for access information was very abundant. But now, in digital time, the time is scarce and information is abundant. And in this context is the role of the libraries. Their mission was to help the users to not to save time, but to collect information. And this is that change a lot. Is in this moment, like in the same direction that this social change, libraries had to change and not to focus in books and collect information, but to focus in how we can to facilitate that people use the information. And that the idea is that we have to understand that we are not in the evolutionary, this can be an evolutionary change, but we are in a disrupting change. Like Thomas Kuhn explained it in his book about the scientific revolutions, but also how Mr. Christiansen exposed also talking about the organization. Sometimes organization needs big change because the change is not evolutionary, the change is disruptive. The second idea around this is about open science. Open science is a really interesting movement, but also is a movement that affects deeply libraries. I will talk a bit about that. This is a funny picture that shows how the science, how it works now, has a lot of some distortions here. And sorry, because it's a very European-centric picture, but here you can see the prince that the prince of the Charles of United Kingdom, when he has been prince for a long time, waiting for being king, and he has been king after a long time. This is that also happens with the manuscripts, that also in a process that makes the communication, scientific communication is not as fast like it could be. So scientific research accumulation is accumulation of knowledge and technology available. But in this moment, the science that had worked during a very stable paradigm all the half of the last century at the beginning of this is changing, because the paradigm has been disrupted deeply with the new technologies, and it's for that this concept of the open science appears. Here you have for you that probably you know the definition of the open science for the UNESCO in the recent recommendations. It's a very long definition, is very comprehensive, but I think it's not intuitive. I rather prefer to talk about open science showing this, that is an idea, a good idea of the Karl Leuven, that is the president of the European Open Science Cloud Association. The idea is as simple like that. We have here the science as is, or as it was, the science that has this kind of distortions that I talked about. But science is moving, not the science, but the tools that help the scientists to do the science, to do the research. So we are moving from the science as is today, with the distortions, with some old practices. We are moving to a new science, as the science as will be. No, we are in a process. We are not in this, we are in a disruption, but this disruption doesn't end it, already ended. So we are changing a lot of things, and one of the problems of the present moment is that, for instance, when we talk about open access, that we can see that a lot of things are moving, but that we cannot see is which be the final position of this movement. Here is Karen Leuven explains how this movement is the open access, the fair data, the citizen science, and this movement is helpful for the incentives, the recognition, for the training, support, the community engagement, the infrastructures, the policies, etc. But I think that this is a good, a very intuitive, easy, and good idea. The other one, I think, very important for libraries is that open science, that is to do the science more open, more collaborative, and more social, is based in a concept that is key is a key concept for the open science, and is a concept that I think very important for libraries, because is the concept of fair data or fair information. Fair means that the information had to be findable, had to be accessible, had to be interoperable, had to be reusable. Usually, when we talk about the new science, the open science, we put the stress in the technology, but the technology works with information. Information is the main objective of the open science, because information is about articles, information is data, information is the software that manages the data. And librarians and libraries, we've been working in the fair information always, and this is the continuity. The continuity is a deep continuity, is not a external continuity. The continuity of the libraries is not based in books or in buildings. The continuity of the library is in facilitating the information. And we need to stress some ideas that has been present also in the librarianship at the of the second half of the last century, because in the print era also we tried to improve the findability, because we worked at building union catalogs and databases. We worked for doing the information more available with the free access shelves, sorry, because there is a mistake, through the interlibrary loan. We worked for doing the information very universal, and probably the best examples are the classification schemes, but also the mark format. And finally, we also worked for preserve the information. And if you see, is that the same idea of the fair. Fair is to find information, to get access, to interoperate information, and at the end, to be able to reuse the information when in the present or in the future. So if we can see this, libraries has a big role, not in all the fields. For instance, probably not in the evaluation field, but we have a big role in a lot of things, in doing the fair data, in open access, in advocacy, in training, in building infrastructure, because these old-fashioned libraries, these millennial libraries, we are very well positioned for acting as doers and catalysts in the open science. We are needed, we or other people are needed, but librarians are well positioned for doing that, to be the information curators, the information organizers, the people that takes care of the metadata of the ontologies and makes open science possible. Well, so in this sense, open science is a big opportunity for libraries. It's a big opportunity where we can to act all this, we can do this, helping that the information is more visible and interoperable in this new world. But not all is good in this life, because open science also has not a big challenge, but a lot of big challenge. Probably, I don't know in your case, but I feel that in some cases the fear for being irrelevant is a big challenge. No, the sensation that the disruption is changing so much that we, at the end, we will be irrelevant. A big challenge is that we need new skills. Our staff. A big challenge is that we are crossing new paths that are completely new, and we feel insecure in these new paths and challenge. The challenge is that the infrastructure is expensive, that there are new roles, that the traditional services, someone's perhaps must be closed, that the organization needs changes, and we don't know which ones, that the old solutions doesn't work anymore. which can be the solution for this big challenge. And in our opinion, is sharing the path, is doing things together. It's for that we use this idea that in sharing we trust. Sharing is doing things together, and in this time of uncertainty, in this time of the new approaches and new solutions, to share the way, to share the path helps a lot. Let me talk shortly a bit about our organization. We are a consortium, like some of you talked. Is a regional consortium in Spain. Catalonia is a region of Spain. We have some 12 universities and 41 research centers. We work for them, helping not only in library or services, but also in technology services. Here is our experience, because we began to work together long time ago with a repository for doctoral thesis long time ago, 22 years ago. We also built a repository for, in this moment, called Diamond Journals. We have a portal that I will talk a bit more about, the portal for research, the digital management plans tool, and a repository for research data. I will show in this. This is our portal. I am very happy to see that our first models, when we began the portal, it was in 2013, was a European one, the NARCIS from Netherlands, but also the Hong Kong University Scholar Hub. At that time, it was that we find the unique models that we can do. In this moment, there are in Europe several national portals for the research, and we do that. That I want to show you that we are coordinating information from 56 universities and research centers. But we could do this because doing that, we are visible, and our authorities can see how the libraries and librarians' documentation and the change information can improve the visualization of the research. This is the same that happened with the tool that we have to prepare data management plans. We are using an open source tool, so the problem is not the technology, I am repeating the problem, but doing things together that we do is to be able to learn from each other, but also to be able to enrich the services, and to enrich the templates that we are using. And at the end, that I want to share is a repository for the research data. Also is the same. We could do this, we could to afford the economic cost for that, because we are working together and enriching each other, but also giving to our authorities the idea that we are very effective doing that. My final idea is that the sharing is the way, because cooperation reduce insecurity, reduce the cost, and reduce the fear of making decisions. These three elements are perhaps not very important in a normal situation, but they are very important in a disruptive situation. When the change is deep and is not clear how the form that it will take, to reduce the insecurity, the cost, and the fear to take the decision, make decisions is very, very important. But at the same time, the cooperations increase our ability, very important, our visibility in this moment in the world. The visibility is fundamental, and increase the skills. For sharing things, for cooperate, trust is the basic conception. Condition. You need to trust with each other. You are not in an organization hierarchically organizer, that you need is to trust with your colleagues. And trust is one thing that you only can do with transparency, respecting the local needs. That today this is technologically very possible, communicating and co-creation, the services. My summary is the three ideas that I want to share with you, that we are in the middle of a deep change in the way how science is done. And this change is clearly and deeply affecting academic libraries. The second is the open science needs that the information about science to be fair. And we, libraries and librarians, we are used to manage information and doing information fair, so we can be useful. And finally, that open science is a process of construction, is not ended in this path, is full of things that we doesn't know. And in this context, the cooperation in building open science helps, in our case, helped a lot to transform the challenge in opportunities. Thanks a lot, and it has been a pleasure to share these ideas and experience with you.
Okay. Okay, I have okay. Thank you, Mr. Anglada, for sharing the cooperative experience of Catalonia. Indeed, open science is a great opportunity, but also presents big challenges for academic libraries. The CSUC's practical experience in creating cooperative open science services such as research portal, digital publication platform, and repository really provides new sights into transforming challenges into opportunities. Thanks a lot. So, okay, our last speaker is Mr. Manju Naiga, Chief Library Officer at Central Library, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. He will share with us sustainable development through open science practice, role of academic libraries. Okay, please, Mr. Naiga.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for the organizer, particularly CNK, for inviting me to share my views on this topic. So last 2 days, so the eminent speaker have shared their views on data empowers smart the library. So most of you, we have heard around more than 8 hours talk on this topic. Being the last speaker, okay, talks something new, okay, which avoiding the duplication what previously speaker they have covered is a tough challenge for me, but I will try my best to avoid, okay, whatever the speaker they've already covered. So I'm going to talk on sustainable development through open science practice, a role of academic library. So majority of the speaker, they've talked about smart library, the application of AI and machine learning, a future of library, a data service, research support services, and particularly the main topic was that the importance of the data and also role of the library, and particularly academic library, in support of open science. So majority of the speaker agree that there is a need of, okay, the future of library, and which is different from traditional library resources and services. So why open science is needed? There are three aspects I'm going to cover. The one is that, which is behind the UN goals of sustainable development through open science. Since several centuries, library are supporting for the growth of the society, particularly providing equal access to its users. So the current scholarly communication, particularly whether it is a subscription, whether it's a review, whether it's a commercial aspect, there are some challenges. So how this open science meet those challenges and providing a new opportunity, for the user as well as the librarian. So these three aspects: sustainable development, open science, and role of academic library. These three aspects I'm going to talk. So the most of whether libraries in a developing country or developed country, or small library or big library, irrespective of a different type of university, some of these challenges are common. So currently, even though we have one of the best top library in the country, we are also facing most of these the challenges. The challenges is that the content, particularly scholarly content, research content, the education content, which is created at academic library, what we are paying for that, there is no transparency. It is within the city and within the country or within the continent. It is different for different people. So that is not only missing of transparency, but also it is a different to the different people and not affordable. So second, the challenge is that, so whether it is a review process or production process, any research process, it takes place at a academic and research institution, but themselves, they are not getting enough benefit. But most of this benefit, it goes to the third party. And also the third, the challenge is that there is a delay and there is a restriction. These research output to reach the large stakeholder. So because of several the restriction, the license, as well as other the humans, and as well as other technological the issues, and also the review process is also not transparent. That is also one of the challenges. Currently scholarly communication, the process it has, even after paying whatever we agreed, or whatever the publisher, particularly predominantly in the major publisher, there is no restriction to the way user want. So a lot of restriction also comes along with paying a huge subscription amount, and also particularly providing from publishing to providing access, there is a huge delay. And all these things, there is a monopoly with only the few major player. So these are all some of the challenges of the scholarly, the contents access, or even whatever value addition they are doing. Because of these challenges, the benefit of the research is not to reach to the large the scale, which is the purpose of the science, is to reach the wider audience, for the benefit of the society. It's not reaching. That is why we are exploring that. Is it possible, the sustainable development through open science? I'm not completely agree that only open science is the only model which can remove all this the barrier. By the time currently we have found that because of the collaborative work across the world with researcher, library community, non-profit organization, this is the way. But once we progress, we may come up with a better than open science the model also. So I believe that currently there is no other model except few publisher, majority of the publisher content is these characteristic it has. So we are exploring that whether open science, okay, solve this problem and reach the okay, university content, okay, to the research output, particularly whether education resources, whether research data, whether metadata, whether financial data, non-financial data. Okay, reachable. Can we make a reachable to the wider audience? How the library can play a major role in that directions? So some of these are the challenges I will highlight. So wherever some of the speaker, they already covered some of the challenges, I will skip that. So there's a comprehensive, okay, definition, okay, about this open science. We may get 100 definitions, but the library community, particularly in order to educate the user, it's better to understand in a simple way, okay, to make them to involve in this open science process. Is the moment to make a scientific research data accessible to everyone without any restriction. That is, though open science data is available in different country in a variety of ways, but a librarian has a role to create a awareness about this open science data. But what type of role he has, I will cover in detail. So this is the taxonomy of the open science is currently is much more than this aspect, but every library, academic library, irrespective of okay size, one or other way they are contributing is the open science movement. So the majority of this could be open access repository and also research data repository, and particularly funding of APC, and also transformative license agreement, and also guidelines, principles, okay, creating more awareness through different mechanism by organizing a training program, events, and also giving a important role as an instructor in a scholarly communication the process. So this is evolving. There is a huge the potential to take to promote the open science by understanding, by practicing some of these aspects, by adding a new discipline, the new concept of open science. So some of this, why the open science is essential, as I said in the beginning, no library in the world in a position to provide access to what the researcher want. So the universities, particularly which are producing more, are also spend more. But yeah, even there is no benefit. So that is one of the constraint is the budget, the constraint. Second thing is that copyright. Even our author cannot use the content because current scholarly communication model copyright goes to the publisher. Reuse is also not easy. The third one is that so we need to make our universities, the research output visibly okay to the larger audience. So that is not possible because of the current subscription model. That is why OAA, it supports that one without any restriction in a short period, in a rapid scholarly communication mechanism. Okay, we can reach the a larger audience. That is the reason why OAA is the alternative to the current traditional scholarly communication model. Second thing is the sustainability. Why I'm using the sustainability word for open science is that by using the current scholarly communication subscription method, we cannot sustain. Infinite time it cannot keep on okay getting a budget for there to get access to the content created by other university. There is a sustainability issues. That's why we need to think about alternative. So that is the one of the most essential for why is required. So another the reason for why scalability is okay essential, because now in the 21st century most of the universities okay the number of okay the students and also they are okay establishing their campus are within the country or outside the country. So in order to provide access to the more number of users, in a different location or different country, the budget, okay, you need to multiply that one. So the current, okay, the scholarly communication, okay, subscription model, okay, does not support the scalability. But whereas open science, okay, it solves the scalability as well. Okay, as long as you are able to increase the your okay student and research staff, and also as well as different campus, so you can provide access to the content without any restriction. I hope some of this, okay, the issues are common across the world, particularly at higher education and academic, okay, the university. So libraries are facing challenges. So this will be a solution. That is what I would like to share. And also, anyways, I'm not going to cover all the different OA models, but one, and particularly India, which is working fine and perhaps going very slowly, is that out of this different model, transformative license agreement. So in transformative license agreement, currently most of the institution in India, we are paying only for, okay, accessing the content or the publications, particularly APC is waived. So though there is not a huge benefit, but our research output is reaching, okay, the large scale audience. So remaining some of the things are that's common. So I will not discuss in detail, but only one thing which is working, okay, fine in India, that is a transformative license agreement. So there are some other the way to make open access, but which are very less. So as previous speaker and as other speaker as well as shared this one, any research output, whether OER, whether data, whether any research article, so mostly unless we follow these, okay, principles, the no use. So we need to make our data as a findable by providing a rich the metadata as well as, okay, persistent identifier. So if you don't follow the standards, if you don't make it interoperable things, even our open access, open science data is not usable in optimum level. So library, the community, wherever you are working, whatever the content you are trying to make it in open science, better to follow these, okay, fair principles. So the main, okay, objective of, okay, this the role of, there is a role for the librarian to make the data, to make information, to make the knowledge, okay, by using a fair, okay, principles. So library community has a rich experience, particularly to make this, okay, rich the metadata as well as make the interoperable system and make it discoverable, okay, in a whether it is maybe directory, maybe search engine, etc. So all this, okay, if you follow this principle, it will take care about the particularly the main objective of, okay, particularly open science to make reachable. So main objective of the research is that to reach a large audience as well as reduce a duplication of the work. Our data should be available, okay, with clear, okay, copyright information for reusable. Then only we can use the resources at optimum level. Otherwise, okay, complete objective of the open science is incomplete. So this is what I would like to mention in this slide is that the library community, any process you are involved, make that, okay, follow the, okay, fair principles, whether it's a data repository or institutional repository or any open science content, you are make it available in a network. So I listed some of the major, okay, open data repository as well as open science data. My intention is that if library community, okay, do not, okay, give awareness about their user in their particular university, the objective is not fulfilled. So it is important for the librarian to regularly, okay, or giving instruction about importance of these resources, then only the objective is served. So data repositories have been set up at the different country and different university, but in a different country, the library community across the world take this forward by reaching to the particularly their user community about importance of this, how promote this open science through their instruction and training the program. So by doing this, when open data or open repositories are decentralized, there is automatically you will get an idea how to evaluate. So you will understand that the quality, the indicator, so that librarian plays the major role, particularly create a directory and understand the each repositories characteristics, so that you can helpful for the users community. So open science, there's some of these major resources is important for the library community. There is a role to understand each resources, particularly how to embed it in their instructions or information literacy program. That is the main reason I listed some of the prominent resources globally. The reason why I listed the publishing industry data, and particularly some number, the challenge we are facing for the global publishing industry is that it's a centralized. There is a monopoly with very few the player. So, for example, if you take the university across the world, the top university, more than 60 or 70 up to 75% of their the budget, it goes to very few publishers, and more than 50 to 60% of their research output published in their particularly major publishers. So it is important that librarian has a role to promote open science and decentralize this scholarly communication, the content. That is the reason I put it some of the number. So how what is their annual turnover, what is their number of journals, and also number of publication OA article as well as. So unless a librarian promote small publisher who are supporting in open science, it's highly impossible to achieve the target. So you can understand that some of the number, particularly in coming slides, how big publishers are publishing the OA content as well as journals. It is important to understand to promote open access journal as well as particularly DOAJ. So around close to more than 14,000 journals are indexed. So librarian can promote this one as alternatively in addition to the currently subscribed content, so that in near future, so we can achieve the more share of OA content, and benefits will reach to the both as well as creator as well as the users and as well as university. Some of the things I will not go in detail, but what I want to highlight is that so librarian has to take forward to create a more awareness about the OA, particularly open access journal platform, by educating the users about the benefit as well as quality content available, etc. So there are already many player in this role. You can understand that from 2016 to 2020 how open access content is increasing, but at the same time closed access content is decreasing, but benefit, particularly subscription amount, is not reducing at the same level the way the OA content is increasing. So here there is a role for a library community to get that benefit. So without getting the benefit and increasing the OA content more and also paying more for subscription does not serve the purpose of the open science. This is the area we need to think that. So though OA content is increasing, and particularly our subscription or library budget keep on increasing without any additional content. That is what the main the insight I am going to share with you all. So again, so OA content is said previously, which content only OA. It is year-wise how the OA articles are increasing. It shows that from different publisher and different country, OA content is keep on increasing. Can understand some of the one of the major publishers in the nature around close to more than 2,200 journals are hybrid. So hybrid journals, which means there is a double benefit. So when OA is getting a more benefit to the publisher rather than the university which are producing the research output. This is the where we need to work on it. Particularly, library community supports particularly fully OA journal rather than OA journals. So even this is the slide which is bronze finger nature only. Themselves they are declaring that the OA is growing. Whether you take citation you take, whether content you take, transformative the journals, the transformative, which means agreement. So most of this, it is taken as an alternative, the way of commercialization from the major publisher point of view. So this what I want to highlight here is that so OA particularly this particularly promoting the hybrid journals is not supporting is not reaching that benefit is not reaching to the university which are producing a very high quality research output as well as spending a lot of money on accessing that content. So another major publishers. So here also more than 90% of the journals are hybrid journals. So that is here also I want to highlight is that we need to support more OA fully OA journals. So again it's another major publishers. So again there is a lot of open access content and also a lot of transformative license agreement, and also there is a huge revenue as well. But once again, the same thing, we need to think about alternative and also decentralization, to promote the open science to reach the large for the benefit of the society. So you can understand from this slide, how the APC is charged from different publishers. So since this data is available in public domain, but what my insight is that some of the APC, one article processing charges is almost equivalent to several journal subscription amount. So once again, the APC is not affordable for all the researcher around the world. We need to think about the APC charges as well as to make it affordable and also sustainable. So unless the community around the world, library community joins for this initiative, highly impossible to reach the objective. So another thing is that several repositories content are available, but unless we educate the users about particularly Creative Commons of the content, so awareness is very important. Otherwise, a lot of the misuse is taking a place from OA repository. There is a predatory journal as well as predatory books publishers. So by changing the content, because without knowing the license, people will taking as a granted, they are misusing that content. The original, the contributor authors are not getting what acknowledgement, what credit they supposed to get it. So this is the huge task, but across the world for every user it is important for particularly OA content to educate the users about a different Creative Commons license provided by different OA repository as well as the open access content. So the transformative license agreement, this is what in India many universities are currently paying for subscription and publishing the article without okay, any further fees without any additional the burden. So this is an important, because as I said in the beginning, for infinite time it's keep on okay increasing a library budget is not a sustainable model, but there should be a win-win situation for both, okay, by university as well as publishers. So this is where one of the alternative ways read and publish the agreement is one of the popular and yet to reach the larger university, okay, across the world, particularly in India. So some of the things, okay, as I said, in India, is a read and agreement is more popular than publish and read agreement, but exception to the one or two universities. So once again, okay, for library role, I'm telling that. So particularly to increase the content in our institutional repository, particularly even because we are paying a huge amount, particularly to get access to the archive content as well. Particularly wherever is possible, for following the copyright policies, better to increase our OA content in our repository by respecting this, okay, OA policy. These are all the library community should understand that, okay, Sherpa Juliet and Sherpa Romeo, some of these, the policies to particularly to educate our new researcher about, to bring them to contribute the open science. So some of these resources are available, so maybe much more than this one. So this is where we can, okay, tell them, our user, okay, how to avoid in predatory, particularly the publisher, is books or journals, any conference proceeding. Of course, open science, it does not mean compromise the quality, because we need to avoid the predatory publishers. So in that, librarian has a role, okay, to enrich, okay, the community about the open science aspect. So another, the most important, the point, the evolving point is that a preprint server. So as in the open science movement, the preprint are also getting a lot of attention nowadays. So it's important for every university, at least every country, to start the preprint server of a sustainable point of view, and also for rapid research publications point of view. So people will get a, say, open peer review, and since majority of the publishers are also publishing the content from preprint server, so there is a huge benefit. This is where library community has a role to promote the open server, open preprint server, particularly by following the FAIR principles. Since there are maybe some challenges, for everything challenges is there, but we need to sooner, we need to start this preprint the services at every university, in academic library and research institution around the world. So there are already the several the popular preprint server in different disciplines are evolving. So we need to create a awareness. We need to tell our, okay, users to use this, okay, preprint, okay, server content or usage as well as the contribution, if you want to truly support the open science. So some of this role of librarian, some of the previous speaker, they have already covered. So those things I will not, okay, cover. So as I said beginning, continuously, there is a role for the librarian to promote open science in a different way by organizing the events, and also by hosting the IR preprint server and maintaining the rich metadata, and also all the open standards by following, by or doing these things. So some of these things are already covered, so I will not go once again in detail, but only major is that there is a huge potential for the librarian to promote the open science with this, okay, role. As again, the year, the important things, okay, I would like to cover is that to make a preprint server is a discoverable, just stand alone without indexing any, okay, either directory or search engine does not serve the purpose. The challenges, of course, open access, the content, maintaining the standard quality is a challenge. So their librarian has a huge role, consistently maintain the quality of whether it's a full text or metadata, any different type of open access, the content. So unless we follow that Though particularly certain things, some standards need to be defined, so at least we can work towards with available and the technology and tools. And opportunities, that there is a huge opportunity for library for collaborative effort, okay, to support the open science, and also it increase the value of, okay, on the librarian, particularly in addition to continuing with our current traditional model. So we can contribute the open science side by side. So another the challenge when it comes to open science is that if you compare to the current scholarly communication model, the funding is required okay, less, but however getting that one sustainable model also a challenge. But yeah, we can achieve that one if you work together globally. Of course, there is a misuse of CC. That is a very important, okay, to understand, particularly clearly ensure that the original, the contributor who are contributing the open science, they should get the credit. So last, okay, as continuously I said, this important continuous process for the librarian to create awareness in the open science benefits, okay, continuously by using embedded through librarianship or through instruction services. So this is not a future, this already is there. There are several benefits, there are several stakeholders already contributing the open science. The future is already here. Initially I said no library in the world in a position, but no country in the world in a position to acquire all the scholarly content or what content researcher want. One thing which I would like to highlight in this, okay, some of the effort to make open science reality is that one nation, one subscription, which is India, is trying best last 2-3 years, but still, okay, still it is a challenging. Imagine that the big country like India, okay, particularly for small country, it may work, it might have worked also, small country, but big country, when we make this initiative, but it truly supports the open science because main objective of the university is a research output, so to reach the larger audience without any restriction. So all this effort, okay, all this stakeholder, all this community are working towards to make open science is a reality. It's important for library community to understand all these different roles or different facility, different services available, okay, to truly to achieve the open science. So conclusion, okay, as a role, librarian as a role, enhancing research, okay, dissemination, collaboration, openness can be achieved through open science. Embracing the evolving landscape of scholarly communications, we need to embrace it. The adoption of open science principle challenge the traditional academic publishing model, brings both opportunity and challenges. But if not for all, there are certain publishers are getting a benefit through win-win situation by adopting open science principle. Open access publishing and data share can enhance the visibility. So that is the ultimate goal of the research. Open science, okay, ultimately lead to more open, collaborative, and transformative, particularly eco-friendly research environment. Some of these reference I illustrated. That's all from me. Thank you. If you have any question, please write to me. Once again, I congratulate all of you for successfully conducting this fourth event. Thank you. That's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Naiga, for your detailed sharing. Your introduction of the current subscription model, the importance of open science and its situation gave us insights into this topic. As you have suggested, librarians should play a pivotal role in enhancing research dissemination, collaboration, and openness, and embracing the evolving landscape. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Okay, now everyone, to We have enjoyed 7 excellent presentations. Thanks again for all the insightful talks. Please allow me to summarize the discussions. Our speakers have talked about library resources construction in the context of open science. Open science creates an area of unprecedented access to knowledge. It is a great opportunity, but also presents big challenges for libraries. So libraries should actively develop robust digital infrastructures and collaborate with global researchers to facilitate an inclusive knowledge ecosystem. 2023 WAL has now come to a close. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the speakers who shared their valuable insights and experiences with us. Your thought-provoking presentations have left a profound impact on all the attendees. I also extend my appreciation to all the attendees for your attention and time. WAL 2024 will be held in Beijing. I believe we will have another exciting and enriching forum next year. Hope to see you all in Beijing. So bye, see you.